Hello, cosmic beings. Welcome to Being Cosmic. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. I am so glad that each and every one of you are here. My name is Devon, and I will be doing a collective message today. So, with that, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. All right, let's get into this. Okay. Really quick, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support on the channel. The likes, shares, comments, subscribes, and the donations all really do help out. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you're interested in a personal reading from me, you can find that information in the description box below. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so I just noticed we've got Yang on the bottom of the deck, which is divine masculine energy. So you could resonate with being a divine masculine, or you could be focusing on your divine masculine energy right now. We have a balance of each masculine and feminine energies within us. The masculine energy is more of the initiator, action oriented. It's when you're more doing, and then feminine energy is receptive. It's like when you're receiving divine guidance, when you're receiving just receiving energy. It's more when you're allowing yourself to just be. And so there's that balance. Receive your information and then take divinely inspired action. And that's a really good way to kind of balance those energies. All right, what's going on? What's going on for the collective? Oh, we've got third chakra. That's the solar plexus. So that sits in between it sits at the belly button. Okay. The color is yellow, and it has to do with confidence, willpower, worthiness. So you could be going through a solar plexus clearing, an upgrade, healing some of those wounds that sit in the solar plexus. Sometimes when we have solar plexus activations or when we're clearing and releasing old wounds from that chakra center, it can create digestive, gastrointestinal stuff to come up. So, that could be something that you're dealing with. Sometimes it can be nausea. Sometimes it can be, actually expelling in an unpleasant way. Um, just kind of unsettled in the stomach, those kinds of things. Digestive issues. Solar plexus governs the digestive system. So when we've got wounds and stuff, and then we clear them, it's literally moving the energy around at the energetic level in that chakra center. So, because we're talking about physical health, if you're concerned in any way, check with medical health professional. I'm not offering medical advice. We're just talking about things from a spiritual and energetic standpoint. All right, I think that covers it. Got to do the disclaimer. I'm also being told some of you maybe look into something like ginger tea, um, peppermint tea, spearmint, the mint family in general. That can kind of help calm and soothe the digestive system, especially when you're going through some of these purging and clearing and upgrades and all that fun stuff. All right. And the seventh chakra. Okay, so some of you might be experiencing Kundalini symptoms. Kundalini it's a very intense activation that happens. It can literally feel like fire is moving up and down your spine. You can feel like tingles. Sometimes you can like literally run a fever. It's an intense activation. That I feel like that's just going to be for a few of you. For most of you, what I'm getting is you're going through individual chakra upgrades and openings. Um, so yeah. This is the crown chakra. So this is sits on the top of the head. The color is violet or white, and it has to do with receiving divine guidance. So this is literally where we're receiving that guidance into our system. Okay. Got solar plexus stuff and crown chakra stuff. Okay. What else is going on? Right? Going on with this. Ah. Okay. So we've got the deceit card, and it landed on both of them. So what I'm getting, one, this deceit energy, like internally, that energy can look like I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, this is too good to be true, that just won't happen for me. Those kinds of things. So you could be working on releasing those beliefs, and that's helping your solar plexus to clear and all of that. Then there's also this energy of possibly not believing the guidance that you're getting right now. So maybe you're getting guidance, but then you're like, well, I don't know if this is really what it is. I don't know if that's really what I'm being guided to do. Kind of doubting the guidance that's coming up. So I'm getting a lot of doubt around the guidance that you're getting. Plus some of those like limiting beliefs and worthiness wounds, thought patterns and things like that. So you could be really actively processing through some of that right now. Ooh, yep. Okay. So for this collective, for a while, I've been getting this energy of you being on the brink of really shifting into the version of yourself that is living the reality of your dreams, basically. So, dream career, dream spouse, dream location, dream whatever it is for you. And so it's like you're on the brink of manifesting this and really becoming that version of yourself that can hold that reality. So there's a vibrational resonance when we're talking manifestation, things like this. And so it's an inside out process. And so it's internally shifting into the version of yourself that aligns with the version of reality that you want to experience. And when we're doing these things, it's a very deep internal process that happens. And when we're doing these things and we say, okay, what's my dream career? And then maybe you have big dreams. So you're like, well, I want to be, maybe you have something and you want to be global. Then all of a sudden you're getting all of these thoughts of, well, who would listen to me and who would really resonate with what I have to say or with what I'm doing or with my creations, or would anybody really like that, and so on and so forth. So it's all that stuff that comes up. And so it's releasing those limiting beliefs and tapping more into that worthiness energy that is what allows you to align with that dream reality. Same thing, I'm really getting like a relationship thread. So, like, if you are wanting a high level love romantically, and then when you think about it, it's, well, I've had all these past experiences where it didn't work out. And then, the ideal person that I have probably wouldn't want me, and all of that. So that's this worthiness stuff coming up to the surface for you to look at so you can release it, so you can shift your internal state of being into an energy of I am worthy of that because I'm a spark of the creator walking around in a human body. And, if other people are worthy of it, so am I. And I'm worthy of my dreams and my desires because I wouldn't have those dreams and desires if they weren't aligned for me in some version of reality. And so it's starting to shift that internal talk and releasing some of those wounds. And some of it, it's going to be core childhood wounds that come up to the surface that are going to be asked to be looked at and processed and moved through. And so, this is a very intense process that you're going through. So give yourself grace and just know that, this is all coming up to the surface for you to look at right now for a reason. And the reason is because you're on the brink of aligning with the reality that you only ever dreamed of up until now. So you're on the brink of actually being able to lock this in. And so a lot of stuff comes up to the surface right before these big shifts happen. For some of you, it's going to be a situation where it happens, like really rapidly. For some of you, it might be one of those like, okay, your career shifts, and then a few months later, you meet the person of your dreams or reconnect with the person of your dreams. And then a couple months later, blossoming months, and then a couple months later, your finances take a quantum leap, and then all of a sudden you're looking at, building or buying your dream house. So it's, it might be a progression, but ultimately you do have blossoming abundance in many different ways. in many different forms in your energy field right now. So abundance, yes, we think of finances, but this is also an abundance of love, an abundance of opportunities, an abundance of sovereignty, an abundance of happy, joyful experiences. Um, you know, an abundance of support. Oh, that's an interesting one. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like you're shifting into this energy of in balanced giving and taking is really coming through as well. And so it's one of those, keep telling yourself and keep reminding yourself that you are worthy of your desires. You wouldn't have your desires if they weren't possible for you. So just keep that in mind. And if you think about it too, like how many people have your exact dream or have your exact ideal for what you want to experience in life, something aligned with soul purpose and things like that. It's very, unique. And there's some overflowing stuff, of course, being in an energy of thriving versus surviving, that is a desire. And it's a core desire because we are worthy of it. And we're from an abundant universe. And so we crave abundance because it's in alignment. Um, but what that looks like is different for everybody. Some people want designer clothes and all of that and very externally focused stuff, and then other people, maybe you still want some fun sports cars and stuff, but it's more like being able to go buy organic food all the time and not have to worry about it, that kind of thing, or support local businesses, small artists, small businesses, that kind of thing. So it is different. Okay, we've got I'm not laughing at that. It's just it's funny. It's one of those like blossoming abundance, cornucopia, all this really beautiful dream reality energy, and then hostilities. So you could be really in that push pull right now where it's like one day or 1 hour, even, this can shift during the day where all of a sudden you feel really worthy and you're like, I desire this, I can have this, I'm good enough for this. Yes, I got this. And then, an hour passes by and then all of a sudden you're like, well, is that just being a little too, you know, unrealistic, and then kind of the doubt creeps in and the internal hostilities kind of come in. So make sure you're doing your best to ground your energy and just allow it to flow. When you notice that those thoughts come back up and their unworthiness stuff and this and that and the other, really pay attention to what is coming up and then do your best to reverse engineer it. So if you've got something that's like, well, who do you think you are who do you think you are that you feel like, you're so deserving of this? That's just entitled thinking. Okay, unpack that. Where did that come from? Because that's not coming from source. That's not coming from your higher self. So where did it come from? Oftentimes when we reverse engineer it, it's going to be something we maybe heard in childhood. Maybe it was said directly to us. Maybe it was said around us and we picked it up and then it becomes part of the subconscious programming, or some of that internal talk when we're older oftentimes is external stuff that we heard growing up that then becomes what our subconscious tells us. So this is pretty next level manifestation stuff coming through. Um so yeah, you're really on the brink of manifesting at least one thing that is tied to your ideal dream reality. I feel like that is going to vary for each of you on what that one thing is, that first thing is. And it depends on where you're at on the journey. You might be at a point to where you've done enough of this internal work and processing that you're literally in the midst of a quantum leap where your entire reality changes pretty rapidly. For some of you, you might be on the brink of breaking through one block, one major block. and then all of a sudden you're experiencing something in your physical reality that you once only dreamed of, and then from there it's only going to increase. um Sometimes breaking through that first block and aligning with something that is part of your ideal reality can be the hardest, because it's one of those, that's when you really shift something pretty major, and then all of a sudden things start to manifest a little bit easier. You get a little better at it. You start clocking some of this stuff a little bit differently, and you kind of notice it right away. So it is a process. So just remember that, and be gentle with yourself, be kind to yourself, and know that you're worthy and anxiety. So yeah. Um it's this energy of like your dream reality is calling to you in a way, in a very profound, powerful way. And then there's a part of you that's like, "Oh shit, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if I can really sustain this. I don't know if I'm really, you know, in the energy necessary to have this thing. And, what if I get it and something happens?" Or, it's a lot of that fear, kind of anxious thoughts that are really coming up with these three cards. For some of you, you could be dealing with some external conflict, and that might be compounding this. I don't feel like that's the case for all of you. I feel like a lot of this is actually internal unrest. And um, sometimes that's one of the hardest things to work through on this journey, because it's such an internal process. It's such an introspective process. It's such you're looking at your subconscious and your shadow, and turning around and looking at it in the face and saying, okay, and most people don't ever even do that. They just run from their shadow their entire life and then blame everybody else, for their life not going the way they want. And so I feel like you're really at this point where you literally, it's like I'm getting a vision of like somebody outrunning their shadow, and then you just hit a certain point where you stop and you're like, all right, fuck it. And you turn around and you're like, okay, now what do I do with you? And then, that starts a lot of this internal processing. This is a lot of, deep inner work. Um, and then it's integrating it. It's understanding that you have the ability to calm that shadow aspect down, to integrate the shadow, to um make friends with it, make peace with it, understand where it came from, why it got as big as it did, and then working with it in a different way and actually integrating the shadow. So it's massive work that you are doing. Just to be clear. And we do have a healer of the ages. So you could be noticing some healing abilities coming online for you. This is also really talking about internal alchemy. So this is what you're in the process of doing, whether you realize it or not. When you're looking at a lot of these things and then you're choosing to integrate it, choosing to change it, it's literally the alchemical process. You're turning a form of energy into a different form. So you're taking something that we would term negative or low vibrational, and then you're literally transmuting that energy and changing its form into something that is actually working for you instead of against you. And so it's literally an internal alchemical process that is happening. Um, and then with the second chakra here, you could also be going through some sacral chakra upgrades, activations. This is where our creative energy sits, sensuality, pleasure. It's also our ability to be in the present moment. Um, so yeah, this one sits between the belly button and the base of the spine. The color is orange. The thing you can do when you're working with chakras is you can actually wear certain colors that correlate with it. You can wear, or I mean, you can eat foods that are that color, like high vibrational foods that are that color. For sacral, anything orange. An orange, carrots, et cetera, et cetera. Cantaloupe. Um, and then same thing with the other chakras. So that's another way you can intentionally assist that process. Um, Okay. And then Healer of the Ages, I'm actually being told to read it. So let's see here. Health and Vitality. This powerful being brings forth ancient wisdom and profound healing. Um, okay, so the divine consciousness, the light of the divine consciousness pours into you with love and powerful healing intention. This being is with you now, bringing resolution to physical, mental, and emotional ills, helping to unblock stuck energy and revitalize your life force. You may have felt this strong presence recently, or you may just be opening to the wonderful sensations now. You can call upon this emissary of miraculous transformation whenever you need vitality, balance, and renewal. Know that at the deepest level, an important healing is taking place. Yeah, so that's definitely what I'm getting. It's like this huge transformational energy that's happening for you right now. And remember this inside out process, sometimes there's a lag time. So sometimes you'll go through a major internal process and then you won't see it reflected back in your physical reality at first. And so just stay with the knowing that you have done a lot of the work. You have changed certain things. Sometimes on this journey, we're always looking ahead. We're always looking ahead, and we don't realize how far we've come, how much we've already done. Getting to this point, you've already put in a whole lot of work internally. And so give yourself a pat on the back for that because this is not an easy thing to do. It's not. And I just heard if it was easy, everybody would do it. Fucking facts. Um, okay. Anything else, or or is that the message? Let's see. I feel like more wants to come out, but I also feel like that's pretty concise. So we'll see. Awesome. Awesome sauce. Okay. Okay. So we've got woman holding a heart and strategy. Kind of getting a different message here. Okay. For some of you, what is happening is you're choosing to go through some of this processing, or you had a realization about your romantic life. Like the desire for a high level soulmate relationship, something like that that's coming through. And part of this internal process that you're going through is to allow you to be in the energy necessary to lock in a relationship of that magnitude. So that could definitely be something that is in alignment with you on this highest timeline, this dream version of reality that you have for yourself is this very loving, mutually reciprocal, mutually beneficial romantic connection. And so for some of you, that could be part of what this is in what this internal process is about is to align with a person romantically that is, it's very high level energy that's coming through. This is very much, two people on the journey coming together to, be each other's person and walk the journey together. And so there could be with the strategy card coming out, part of what could be going on is coming up with a plan on what needs to be done in order to lock in a connection of that magnitude. All right. What else is going on with this mass healing for the collective spirit? Anything else? Okay. Mhm. Maybe, maybe, maybe not. Okay. Community. Okay. Hmm. For some of you, what is also going to be a byproduct of this internal process. So this could be something that you're consciously manifesting, or this is going to be something that happens as a byproduct of this internal transformation, is an upleveling in your community. And it's being around people who are more supportive, more, which is interesting because supportive came out earlier. So that could be something that you are struggling with. Maybe you don't feel like you have much support right now in the physical world. Just remember you have a ton of support in the spiritual realm. So if you need to lean on your spirit guides, even if you don't, have an actual like connection with your guides, you don't know, whatever. It's just you'll feel them. If you call in support and energetic assistance, you'll feel extra support. And make sure you term it something like I call in beings that can help assist this transformation that I'm going through for my highest good. I only allow in beings that are aligned with my highest timeline, something like that. Or, I'll call in beings of the highest golden light, which is it's a frequency thing, it's an energy thing. Um, so it's higher dimensional beings that um are supportive. Angels, guides, ancestors, or just the divine in and of itself, God, the universe. Whatever it is you work with, if you're struggling to find support right now in the physical, definitely lean on your spirit team in whatever way you work with your spirit team. And then also know that as a result of this internal transformation, you will inevitably start attracting people to you that are more in alignment. So if you've been dealing with not feeling supported by your community and not really having people who understand what you're going through, that is something that will change. And sometimes it's, for a lot of us on this journey, it's not even really having a bunch of people like physically where we can go hang out with them, but it's through technology. It's meeting somebody in a different country and, have like emailing with them or, calling them or texting or whatever. Um so there is support out there. So just know that. But we're all kind of plopped at different places on the planet. So, that's where it is beautiful to have technology and be so globally connected because then we can find other people that can support us through this journey, even if we're not face to face with them. Okay. The change in the wind. Yeah, I would imagine so. You could be feeling like you're standing on shaky ground right now. You could be feeling like it's one of these energies where it's almost like you're feeling big things happening, but you're not seeing the evidence of it yet. Part of this could also be causing anxiety. So it's like if you know big stuff is coming, big changes are on the horizon, but you don't know what they are, what they're going to look like, stuff like that. That can cause some unrest for especially for the ego. Um, so yeah, definitely make sure you're doing your best to stay grounded and kind of look into different techniques on how to quiet the mind. And sometimes it's literally just shifting your focus on something else. So maybe it's when your mind's really racing, it could be going and looking at a tree and then literally like consciously looking at the leaves on the tree and looking for any little like bugs on the tree and then looking at the bark the bark patterns, and it's literally you're focusing on something that's in your present moment, and those thoughts will kind of start to slowly fade to the background. And so it's literally consciously like tricking your mind to calm the fuck down and to shut up a little bit. And it just there's little techniques and tricks and hacks like that. And I do resonate with this because I can be an overthinker. Um I have a good bit of air in my chart as well, like for the zodiac stuff. Um and yeah, it can when you're used to operating up in your head a lot, it can be difficult to stop that and to retrain that. Um, and it's one of those do something that gets you out of your head. Sometimes, like, it's literally like jumping up randomly and just like shaking your body or like clapping or something like that because it just shakes up the energy and it distracts your mind. Because what can happen is we'll start that downward spiral and then we're just like sitting there and it's just the next thought, the next thought, the next thought, the next thought. Well, if you snap out of that and then focus on one thing that makes you feel a little better than how you were feeling, so just one little thing like, oh, there's this going on. And then that snowball can happen in the opposite direction too. We're just trained to focus on it when it goes in the negative direction. And so it's retraining yourself to focus on when it starts going in the other direction and reaching for a little bit of a better thought and a little bit of a better thought. This is not spiritual bypassing, to be clear. When wounds come up that are being asked to be processed, when emotions are moving, let it move. It's energy in motion. Let it move. Um, when wounds are coming up to be healed, sit with it. Give it space. Let yourself grieve it. Let yourself process it. Let yourself get angry. Let yourself move through all of that. And then it's more when you're just starting that mental spiral. That's when you can start to retrain it. And so it can be a slippery slope because it can lead to spiritual bypassing, but I don't feel like that's what you're actually doing. I feel like this is for somebody who gets kind of stuck in their head and then follows all of those worst case scenarios. And so it's understanding that you have the power and the ability to retrain yourself on what spirals you're focusing on. And and sometimes it's not as easy as just quieting your mind or not listening to those thoughts. And so there's fun little techniques that you can do. You can do something like get out a kid's coloring book and just color. Um and any just little things like that don't require a lot of artistic talent, and it's not like you're going to go show it as a masterpiece. It's just doing something that is distracting your mind when you are starting to get stuck in those loops. Okay. All right. So, undeposit for a minute, get some water. Let's see what else wants to come out. Okay, adjacent possibilities. So you're being given different opportunities that are going to be more in alignment with the version of yourself that you're stepping into. Um, so that could be part of the reason I went on that whole tangent about um catching yourself when you're starting that downward spiral, because when you're stuck in that energy, it repels different opportunities and it can block some of the divine guidance. Yeah, and you're being given a way out of something is what I just heard. So the divine is coming through to help you shift something in your physical reality in some way, and you might be missing it. And if it's meant for you, you'll have multiple opportunities. So if don't allow that to like, start a fear spiral. It's just one of those when we're stuck in those looping thought patterns like that, it blocks out some of the guidance. It distracts us to where we're not open to receiving opportunities and things like that that the divine is bringing through. But this is like a divine way out of something. Um it's like the divine saying like here's a door you can walk through, and For some of you, it might be like a leap of faith. It might push you to do something that makes you uncomfortable. And that could be where you're kind of stalling right now. For others of you, it's literally just kind of getting stuck in your head and then not really seeing what the divine is attempting to bring to you. So by calming your mind in whatever way that is for you and doing your best to pull into the present moment, that's when you're going to notice these kinds of things. That's when you're going to be in that kind of receptive energy where you can hear that guidance and then allow yourself to take that inspired action. Indecision. Okay. For some of you, you know what opportunity the divine is giving you, and you are in an indecisive energy when it comes to it, probably because it's requiring you to do something that pushes you out of your comfort zone, makes you a little uncomfortable, pushes those edges, triggers some of those wounds, that worthiness stuff. Because it's a pretty big shift that I'm feeling for this collective. So this could definitely be where you're at, is where you're like, oh, is that really for me? Is that really what I'm being guided to do? I don't really know. And if I look at, what's led up to here, it just, why would why would I be given this opportunity because I did this thing or I did that thing? Like it's a lot of kind of that mental talk that's coming up in this energy. And so again, just remember, like, you wouldn't be being guided to walk through this door if you weren't energetically aligned to walk through this door right now. So if you're being given an opportunity, but it's pushing you a little bit out of your comfort zone, that's a good thing because change doesn't happen in the comfort zone. Okay. All right. For some of you, this has to do with a romantic relationship because we just got man holding a heart and then we got woman holding a heart earlier. So that's a feminine energy who's in their heart space, who's, um, yeah, it can be somebody who's actually in love. And then same thing here, it's a masculine energy that's in that, energy. Um, hmm, all right. So let's see what else is going on here. Ah, okay. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of doubt coming up. You could be experiencing some confusion about what you're being guided to do. Because we got the not for you card that came out, and milk and honey. Okay. So yeah, what I'm getting is this is an energy of really those kind of naysaying thoughts. That's just not for me. uh, you know, all of that. We've gone through some examples, and I don't really want to continue going down those particular trains of thought. Um, just remember, you wouldn't be being guided to this and going through everything you're going through and going through all of this internal work if what you are desiring wasn't for you. It's literally the opposite of how the divine works. So you will be get words are doing wordy things. You will get those passions in those dreams, in those desires, especially when you're in a little more of an aligned space in your thinking about, like, if I was my best version of self, what would my life look like? Those aren't coming from ego projections of I want this thing so that I can show off to other people around me. That's different. That's ego. that's wanting external approval. This is something you desire at an internal level, and it is in alignment with yourself, with your higher self, with the divine. And so you wouldn't be being given this insight, and you wouldn't be called towards what you're being called towards if it wasn't for you. Um yeah, I mean, and it's literally like it came out with Milk and Honey, which is another dream reality manifestation card. And so I feel like there's a lot of doubt right now, a lot of talking yourself out of your dreams, of your, most, it's like your most aligned reality, and then you're telling yourself that that's not for you. And whatever it is that that internal talk is telling you, that's not coming from the divine, that's not coming from your higher self. Your higher self wants you to experience your dream reality, and the universe wants to experience it through you. The divine wants to experience it through you. um so you wouldn't be being called to these kinds of things if it wasn't for a reason. And a lot of times our biggest dreams are going to stretch us a lot. They're going to push up against that worthiness wound like a motherfucker. I mean, it just is what it is. And I'm getting for some of you that counterpart thread of energy is coming through. And so if it is your counterpart that you're talking yourself out of, it wouldn't be your counterpart if it wasn't meant to be your counterpart. Like, it wouldn't be your perfect person if you weren't able to align with that person. Because in the counterpart thread of energy that's coming through, that's literally your person. And you are literally their person, as you are now. Um, and you wouldn't be being called to align with your person now in the physical if it wasn't sustainable this go round. That's what I just heard. So yeah, it's one of those things like, ugh, my heart goes out to you because it's not, this is a really fucking tough place to be in. It really is. Um, so for what it's worth, I'm sending you my love through all of this because it is brutal. It can be. But just know that the life of your dreams should scare you a little bit. Because that's what expansion is scary to the ego. So it should scare you a little bit. The person in this case, what I'm getting, the person that you are desiring is pushing you to expand into the best version of you that you have access to at this moment. In counterpart dynamics, that is by design. And if you're on a counterpart journey, you are doing that to your person too, whether you realize it or not. So it's pushing each of you to become the best version. And I say that you have access to right now because it ever changes. That's the point. So it's ever expanding, it's ever growing, it's ever refining little things, and looking at different things that you want to do in a different way and be better. And you react, and then you're like, ah, fuck, I don't want to react anymore. So now I'm going to do a little more internal work, a little more shadow work, and figure out why I reacted in that situation, and ensure that I don't do it again. So is it a trigger? Is it an internal wound? Or was it environmental? Maybe it's environmental and you're just being guided not to be in those environments anymore. That happens too. We outgrow environments, we outgrow people, we outgrow situations. And it's not a better than, less than. It's just when you're on the expansion journey, the spiritual awakening path, the point is to grow and to expand and to continue to evolve in this lifetime, to do that inner alchemy, to continue to become your best version. And that is ever changing. And so if you are being pushed and triggered by another person's energy to this extent, and it is your counterpart, it's for a reason. And you do the same thing to them, whether you realize that or not. And it sounds really funny, like there's no way that my person would feel like they're unworthy of me. I guarantee you, at some point, they have gone through that same process or they are going to. It just depends, you know. Sometimes, you know, yeah, it just depends on the dynamics and everything else. But in a counterpart dynamic, that is literally part of it because you're processing and you're transmuting and you're healing this internal shit to become your best version so that ultimately you can step out in a way and help guide others or just illuminate to others what is possible. Sometimes that's part of our purpose is just to show other people an alternative way to go about life. And then, you know, a lot of us are called to actually, you know, get in the mud and help other people out. So it's just going to vary, but I am getting a little bit of soul purpose activation coming online for you as well. And so even if you don't know exactly what that's going to look like or exactly what you're being called to, but you're feeling this call, this, I know I'm here for more. I know I'm here to share. I know I'm here to help. I know I'm here to whatever. That's your soul purpose calling you into the direction where you align with it. And then you start actually anchoring that in and doing that in the physical realm. But it's that inside out process first. So just remember that, and give yourself more credit. I feel like this is somebody who's very, very hard on themselves. And again, I'm not calling you out, no judgment here, because I fucking get that. But this is definitely the energy of somebody who you might have a little bit of perfectionism and, you know, nothing you do is ever good enough. Understand that is coming from a wound or subconscious programming. So just remember that because ultimately you're a spark of the creator walking around in a human body. You're worthy of everything you desire, especially when it's aligned with your soul, your higher self, the divine. Again, if it's things like, well, I want to do this so that I can show off to other people, that's more of an ego thing. But I feel like I'm really talking to somebody who's really been doing some of that sifting and sorting and like, you know, am I seeking internal validation or am I still seeking external validation? Am I still worried about how something's going to look or how something, you know, other people are going to take this? It is a little different when we're talking this counterpart thread of energy because you desire their approval, you desire their acceptance. And ultimately, it's funny because I feel like the counterpart thread of energy, I feel like it's a no contact energy. And what I'm getting in it is you both appreciate each other and each other's energy, and you both desire each other. You both want to come together and, you know, work together in some way, you know, whether that's working together in a romantic sense, working together in a physical, you know, career sense, whatever it is. But it's like this mutual desire that is coming through. But there's also mutual shit being activated and triggered within each of you so that you can process through that to continue to align with your highest self. And the more you do that, the more I just heard physical union is inevitable. So, okay. You could also be feeling very alone right now, and that was coming through with this community card earlier. So this orphan card is really talking about feeling misunderstood, feeling alone in a crowd of people, just like nobody truly sees you, nobody truly understands you. Maybe nobody can go deep into certain areas of your internal world with you. Um, I do feel like this is something that it's interesting. So I feel like you kind of got used to this, and then all of a sudden something activated, and now you're desiring to not have to go at it alone. And if that is where you're at, that will come up when you're ready to start aligning with people that are more you know, in alignment with your higher version of self. And so just know that if you're in that period of time where you feel very alone, one, you're never alone because you have a bunch of guidance and beings around you all the time. Not to freak you out, it's just, you know, guides and angels and whatever you work with. Um, so you're never truly alone. And there are people who can understand you, who can see you fully, who can appreciate you fully. And so if you're desiring that, then you open yourself up to allowing that to come in. And so just know that that is something that you are worthy of receiving as well. is, really supportive people around you, people who want to see you win, who want to see you succeed, who, will help you to get there instead of, having this secret envy or whatever, and then they're trying to, sabotage. A lot of time that is subconscious, sometimes it's not. It just depends on the person and the situation, but if that's what you've experienced a lot of, just know not all relationships are like that, not all situations are like that, not all people are like that. And so if you're desiring to have more supportive people around you, then you can have more supportive people around you. And part of that is going to be looking at where you feel like you're not worthy of those types of connections. Okay. And we've got breathe. So yeah, definitely figure something out that can pull you out of your headspace. Maybe do some research on different mindfulness techniques, things like that. Meditation, if that resonates with you. It doesn't even have to be like where you literally sit in the Om position and quiet your mind. It can be something like a walking meditation where you go for a walk, preferably in nature, but it doesn't have to be. It can be, around your neighborhood, whatever. And you go for a walk and you don't listen to anything. If you're listening to something, have it be like binaural beats or something like that, nothing overly stimulating, and then walk and just notice the tree, notice the shrubs, notice the little critters running around, notice little insects moving, listen to the wind, look at the clouds. That's a way to be in this meditative state without sitting there and focusing on trying to be in a meditative state. Because that can be hard to do at first. And it's like, just quiet your mind, just think of nothing. Well, if you have an overactive mind and you get stuck in looping thought patterns, it's not just as easy as just turning that off. you know so there's other ways you can go about it. Same thing like with coloring, or, some of those little, like, sometimes, this is something I do and it just depends, but if you get they've got like adult coloring books that are color by numbers. And so you don't even have to think about like, do I want this color or that color? Because sometimes we need something that takes out that mental overload aspect. And so if it's like color number one red, then you just get a red and you color all the number ones. And then when you're doing that, you don't have to overly think about what color to use and what would look best with this and so on and so forth. And you're just, okay, color this red, color this yellow, color this blue. And then when you're coloring, then that's a way you can kind of release some of those overactive thoughts, and then you can actually start to receive some of that divine guidance as well. And there's lots of other things like that. I just discovered diamond paintings a couple months ago. That's another good one. Just little stuff like that where it's keeping you busy and keeping you focused on something, but you're not like overly, you don't have to be overly thinking about it and overly processing it. Okay, chopped wood. So this can be a call to really look at maybe some things that you've been neglecting at the moment. So this could be, it's mundane tasks. It's, doing the dishes, it's doing the laundry, it's picking up your space, it's cleaning your car, it's, those kinds of things. It's your mundane daily tasks that we tend to find, blah. And that could be part of this breathe energy too, and kind of pulling in the present moment is shifting your focus on some of that. And so instead of I have to do the dishes, I get to do the dishes. That can really change that energy, and it can change the entire experience of doing the same thing just by changing your wording around it. Um so yeah, if you start replacing I have to with I get to, it literally can start transmuting and changing the energy of the things that you're doing. Some of those responsibilities, things like that. Okay. Okay. All right, give me just a second. Okay, so, um, technical issues. It's all good. Okay, so with these next cards that came out, um, I was getting a counterpart thread of energy off of this, and I was seeing if this has anything to do with the overarching message, and I got no. So basically, this happened in a couple other readings too. So we are taking the counterpart turn. If you're not on a counterpart journey, I don't really know if anything else is going to come up for you. So feel free to click off, and I will see you in the next message. If you're on a counterpart journey, and you wish to stay for this message, well, hello, let's get into this. All right. So, okay, so the cards that came out was Thinking Woman, Go the Distance, Thinking Man, in the Garden and the Gate. So, what the message that's really coming through is one, you and your person are very intellectually compatible. You probably find this person very intellectually stimulating, and there is an intellectual compatibility between you and this person. I feel like the masculine is still viewing their feminine as unreachable, for some reason, and it's what's coming through is that's more of an illusion. And so there is in this energy, what I'm being told basically, there is a way for the masculine to connect with the feminine right now. So this is a situation where you could, maybe pick up your phone and contact your feminine um right now. There's not like this big block um where, you're blocked and you can't reach out and so on and so forth. This is an energy where you have the ability in this now moment to break no contact. The thing is, the message that's coming through, which is really interesting, is the masculine's being asked, and I feel like I'm talking to the masculine. So if you're a feminine, you're watching, flip it how it fits. Um, what I'm getting is for the masculine to close this distance and to start this communication in more of a intellectual way. So with that, instead of going towards this person, it's because it's like you're being called to your person from the heart space. And I feel like that's just bringing up a lot of anxiety. And I feel like a part of it is because there's so many unknowns. I'm getting that this is a situation where the masculine might not know if the feminine's in another relationship, if they are open to a relationship with them. Like there's crickets when it comes to a lot of kind of what's going on in the physical realm between the masculine and the feminine. I feel like there's a lot of like unknowns between the two. And so what the guidance is that's coming through is the masculine's being guided to reach out to the feminine and open that line of communication in more of just like a reconnecting. How have things been? How has the journey been for you? Maybe kind of talking about like the spiritual journey, just different life things, stuff like that. And then what will happen is it's going to eventually get to the point where you're opening up your heart and you're talking about the potential romantic union aspect of this, but you're being guided to go towards your person right now in more of a yeah, it's more of like in an intellectual way. It's more just in a communicative way where you're being called to just open up that line of communication. And then from there, it can naturally evolve into something more if that is what is desired between you two. And what I'm getting is you're going to know pretty quick. Um, and it's just going to naturally evolve into that. So you could be being guided to go towards your person more platonically, more in like a friend way, and kind of, reestablish some sort of physical connection and then allow it to evolve naturally from that point. Okay. So I had to pause for a minute. One thing I do want to say about this particular counterpart connection, the energy that I'm getting here, this is for two people who haven't really talked in quite some time. There's been enough time that has passed between when you really interacted with this person and now, and so there's a lot of unknowns. So this isn't for somebody that you were dating a month ago and then now you're not sure if they're dating somebody else. This is something like I'm getting a pretty significant amount of time in between when you really encountered this person and now. That's not saying you haven't talked to them at all. It's just saying that you haven't really had like a super meaningful conversation or really had that open line of communication for quite a while is what I'm getting. I would say probably at least 6 months, if not longer. For some of you, I'm getting it's been quite a bit longer than that you've really had like a meaningful interaction or conversation with this person. And so that would explain why it's coming through that way is instead of approaching them completely unknown and bearing it all and you know all of that and you don't even know what's going on in this person's life at all. um that would explain why you're being guided to take more of this approach where it's just like, hey, thought about you a little bit. I'm laughing because yeah, that's an understatement. um on both ends. But like I thought about you randomly and just want to see how you're doing. Like, it's funny because in this energy, it's like, yeah, I dream about you almost every night. I think about you almost constantly during the day. I wonder what you're doing. I wonder if you're with somebody else. I wonder if you ever think about me. I wonder if you ever would want to be with me again. I wonder if we could make this work. I wonder if, you know what I mean? Like it's, yeah. Um, I hear songs that make me think of you on a regular basis. I hear your name randomly on a regular basis. Because that's the counterpart journey. Especially when you're being called back to your person, or like if you're the feminine, when it's getting closer to aligning with that physical union. Oof. The signs, the synchronicities, the dreams, the visions, you might be able to feel their energy. You probably do. You might be able to hear, maybe you're hearing them telepathically. Um, but yeah, so that would explain why you're being called to approach it in this way, because it's a way for you to start that communication back and forth, and then it will evolve naturally from there on, those deeper things and, all of that. So, um anything else about this counterpart thread of energy that wants to come through? Man, holding a coin. Okay, the masculine could be worried about their finances. That could be something that is stopping you if you're the masculine. Um, I feel like again, that's more of a fear or a worry. I do understand it because masculine energy wants to be, it's naturally more in that provider energy and all of that. Just remember, there's way more to providing than finances. So, in what you can provide your feminine supersedes finances. It does. What you can provide your feminine is something that is invaluable. What you can provide your feminine is it supersedes finances. That's the best way I can put it. It's an energy thing. And the thing is too, we're talking counterparts. This is a situation where even if you start talking to your person and it's platonic, and maybe that's how it starts. Maybe you guys start as friends for a little bit and then it evolves from there naturally at some point. What's going to happen to both of your energies is you're going to level up in a very profound, fast way, because it's this energetic dynamic that will take place. And I can feel it in the energy. Like I can feel the shift that happens with you and your person after you communicate. And it's like it's that might be what quantum leaps you. Okay, yeah, and we've got exchanging gifts. So you could have something you physically want to give your person, and maybe they have something they physically want to give you as well. Um, hmm, Definitely could be sensual energy flowing between you two, especially with the sacral chakra out here. Um, but this could also just be like exchanging energetic gifts with each other, which is just the gift of presence, the gift of yourself, the gift of being seen, the gift of not feeling alone. It's your counterpart. So they're going to feel like home in a sea full of strangers. Oh, interesting. Never heard that before. And it's funny because it's one of those on the surface in the physical realm, you and your counterpart might be like strangers to each other right now. But energetically, you feel closer to this person than anybody else. And your person feels the same way. It's a really weird fucking thing to experience, especially when you're not communicating at all. And then you're just like, I just feel so connected to this person, but I haven't talked to them in however long. I have no idea what's going on in their life. I have no idea if they're happily married or if they're single or if they're dating or if they've sworn off romance or, whatever. It can be a really weird thing to experience, but just remember this is a soul thing. This is a soul thing that's happening. It's a very deep, very powerful connection, and it's mirrored. So what you feel for your person feels for you when we're talking like yeah, it's just really one of these things that I feel like when you communicate with your person, it's going to snowball into you both expressing desires for more with each other pretty quickly because there is that mutual desire, there is that mutual pull, that there is that mutual idealization of the other person. And that could be part of what you're looking at too, is like, well, my person could get, so many other options. Why would they want me? And it's because of your soul, baby. Like, just remember that. Yeah. And your heart. Oh. Okay, this is the heart chakra. You could be going through a heart chakra opening right now. Or maybe you recently did, and that's what's activated you into this next level of truly, really desiring this. And there's a lot of fear coming up. And that again, that is normal. When we're shifting our reality in very major ways, that fear is gonna come up and just give you hell. And that is just that's part of it. Do your best to work through it, release it, know that it is not don't let that be the guiding light for you of your life because it's very restrictive. It's very blah. When you listen to the fear, acknowledge it, and then do the thing anyways, that's when you start really expanding and experiencing these like beautiful, amazing experiences. And this is definitely also an energy with the heart chakra out here of follow your heart right now. Your heart is guiding you towards your person, and it's for a reason. And it's one of these things that's like once you allow yourself to follow that heart guidance to your person, naturally you're going to align in a different way. And then when you're following your heart, when you're talking about career and purpose and finances, that's when you'll experience miracles and quantum jumps and all of these beautiful things because it's just how it works. So, yeah. Okay. Let's see if anything else wants to come out. Can be another long reading, but I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Buy the book. Mhm. Yup, yup, yup. So this is definitely your counterpart. The yin yang card, that's high level soulmate counterpart twin flame. It's also talking about the balance. It's balancing the internal masculine and feminine energies, and it's also the balance of two people coming together. And so it's really saying like this is your match. This is your perfect person. And because of the nature of this relationship, of this soul connection, it's activating. It's going to continue to push you into your highest self. And with that, oftentimes how we get into that energy is by being triggered and releasing wounds and looking at the shadow. And so it's uncomfortable and it's not always pleasant, but it's ultimately always for your highest good. It's for your alignment. It's for your, ideal reality, basically. Um, and so this is a connection that is not, this isn't an easy peasy soulmate connection that's going to be peaceful and groovy and all of that all the time. This is an activating connection. The thing is, I feel like you two already activated each other when you experienced each other in the past. And so the level of activations now, you've been being activated spiritually by your person's energy for a while now, and you've been activating your person, just in case you were wondering. um and the thing is, now you both are at this point to where you're more stable in your energy to be able to handle these activations and actually use them as the invitations that they are, instead of being triggered by them and running from it, or being like, "Oh," it's more of an energy of like, "Oh, okay, that was, I just had something activated. I don't know what the fuck." And then this is also an energy where I feel like at some point you and your person can help each other process through some of those triggers. Like, okay, one of us got triggered. Was that because a boundary was crossed, or was it because of an internal wound, or what is this? Let's look at this. Let's figure this out. Let's process through this. Okay, and then you move through that together, which is, that sounds wonderful. I'll just put it like that. Um but it's one of those, you both are in a different energy now. You're both in a more mature energy, and you're both more in the energy of really looking at these as is invitations rather than something to freak out about or push away, or whatever. So yeah, it's really confirming that like you are ready for this level of a connection now, which is pretty profound. Being ready to anchor in a physical union with your counterpart, it's pretty profound. But the thing is like that's what's here for you. It just might start off a little slower. It might start off more as friends, and then you're both kind of like, okay, of course I desire this. Of course, this is what I want above all else. You're my counterpart. There's nothing else like it. There just isn't. So of course I want this. Now let's see, what are the logistics? What do you have going on? What do I have going on? Maybe some of you live at a distance. Maybe some of you would have to, move locations, change careers. Like there could be big changes that one or both of you would have to make in order to actually lock this in as far as like a romantic union. But I'm getting the energy of like both of you communicating and then choosing that you want physical union together. The universe is going to help move all the obstacles out of the way. So just remember that. So if there's things that you're like, oh, this seems really big though, um, nothing's too big for the universe. Like there's not an obstacle too big that the universe can't help you clear up in a very rapid amount of time. Okay. Oh my gosh. This is the other freaking counterpart card. So yeah, you're mirroring each other. Very much so. Um, very, very much. And then we've got by the book. So this could be an unconventional situation. And that could be part of the holdup, or part of, maybe for some of you, this could have been what caused the separation at first. is because there was something unconventional about this dynamic. This is a situation that goes against the grain. It goes against some of the societal norms, but it's like it's the true happily ever after energy. It really is. And so yeah, it's really coming through to let you know that even though it might be unconventional, you do have victory and success when it comes to this situation. Um, yeah, it's really coming through like you are going to be victorious with this. You will be successful. Your person does want you. Your person does desire you. Um, and then we've got storm warning. Hmm. Maybe okay, for some of you, part of what could be kind of stopping you from doing this is because you know that maybe you have to make some changes and you're not sure if you're ready to do that, or maybe it's one of those like if one or both of you would have to move or change careers or something like that, it could be one of those like, oh, I need to wait until this is in a different place, or financially I need to be in a different place or whatever. And if that's what's stopping you, what's really coming through is again to remember any obstacle that's standing in the way of you and your person locking in a romantic union. When both of you come together and really talk about it, whatever's standing in the way, the universe is going to come through in major ways to help clear up whatever is keeping you two from being able to fully lock this in. Because ultimately this is you're being divinely led back to your person right now for a reason. So anything that's standing in the way, the universe is going to move. Or guide you on how to move through it in a very rapid way. And this is one of those situations where you're looking at something and it's huge and it's big and you don't know how you would change it, and you're just like, well, I want this first, but I just don't know how to get there now, and so on and so forth. And then you allow yourself to reach out and start communicating with your person. There's going to be a situation where the universe is like, here's a miracle, here's a this, here's a that, and, help you level up in a very big way. So I had to pause it again. Um, it is summer break, so there's more pauses in some of the readings. Is what it is. Okay. So interestingly enough, so I paused it really quick and then I sat back down to tap into the energy again to finish this reading. And I got this like analogy. So I'm not a huge video game person, but I used to play Crash Bandicoot on like like the original PlayStation. Um and so it's kind of one of those things where I don't know if you've ever played that game, it's kind of old now, but basically it was set up to where like you could go through a level, and then if you did a certain thing or collected certain, all the boxes or whatever, then you got an extra gem, and then you could go in a different level, and with that gem you unlocked like this hidden platform. And so it's almost this energy of like you and your person communicating again and really talking with each other and so on and so forth. One, just that alone is going to be so healing and so up leveling for both of you that it's going to automatically pull you into a different energy, which is going to level you up as a byproduct. Then when you get to the point of like, okay, yes, I do desire this. Yes, I see forever with you as well. For both of you. Then what happened, I was kind of shown like this vision where it's like the feminine had this gem, but then the masculine has like this pair of glasses that can see like the hidden platform. So it's like the feminine has one component, the masculine has another component, and they have to come together to unlock this like hidden shortcut almost. And so, or like this hidden level. And then it's one of these like you two are like, yes, okay, let's do this. Then all of a sudden you two come together, you combine forces, and then it's like, okay, you're on this like hidden level type thing. And then you get like ton of extra lives and a bunch of extra coins or whatever, with the video game analogy. you get like all this extra assistance to just fucking dominate in a heart aligned, non-egotistical way, of course, but it's power couple energy. It's, you come together and like, okay, let's fuck around and build an empire. Like, in a new earth, heart-centered kind of way. Again, this isn't like, yeah. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say here. So it's one of those things like there are hidden elements here that neither you or your person are fully going to be able to perceive or access until you two come together. And it's not saying that you have to come together to experience the life of your dreams. It's just at this point this is what you're both desiring, is this reality where you two are in a harmonious union. Like there is this mutual romantic thread of energy between both of you where you're both desiring it. And so when you both come together and start communicating and then it evolves into that, then new things are going to come into your awareness where it's like, oh, I never would have thought of doing that. Or this opportunity just presented itself for this thing or whatever it is. And so it's just trusting in that. And there is this element of trust and surrender to the divine, following the guidance and knowing that it's leading you into the life of your dreams. And, with this, it's literally leading you to the person of your dreams so that you can build the life of your dreams together. So it's pretty profound. And I feel like this is where you're just being bombarded with all of this stuff and you're just like, you could be in the energy of like, I don't even know what way is up right now. And and yeah, and there's a lot of this mental internal conflict that's really prevalent in this energy. And I feel like a lot of that's going to calm down simply by you communicating with this person, even in a platonic way. It's going to settle a lot of that, which is naturally going to elevate you into the next level. And then from there, it's just like you're just going to continue to level up is really what's coming through. So it really is beautiful. Again, my heart does go out to you because you're really going through it. Like you're going through it. And so just, hang in there. Remember to give yourself your kudos. Your soul picked one of the hardest journeys possible with this counterpart journey. So give yourself some grace and also give yourself a pat on the back because you've done this before. You've done this life thing before a lot. Souls that are newer to the physical experience don't choose the counterpart journey because it is fucking intense. It is brutal. It is the fast track to awakening. It is, it is, it's a lot. But the reason that you chose it is so that you can experience that. And you met your person when you did for a reason. You were activated. And then now you've been processing through those activations and now you're ready to come back together in a more healed, mature way. And it's not saying you're fully healed. It's not saying your person's fully healed. It's not saying that the journey's over and, you ride off into the sunset, but you're like there to the point where it's like you're kind of going through like the final rounds of deep, deep inner healing. And then from here, it turns into just like you're just bebopping through life and then boom, something comes to the surface and you look at it and you transmute it, you process it, you integrate it, and then you keep moving. It's not as debilitating after a certain point. So just know that that's something to look forward to, that's something to remember. It's not always going to be this intense. You're going through like it's that energy, especially with the storm warning card. It's that energy of like it's darkest before the dawn. So if you've been really struggling, just know there is relief coming, and sometimes that relief has to come through taking a certain action. And I feel like for who I'm talking to, this action that's going to bring you profound relief is to communicate with your person even in a platonic way to start with. um And again, follow the guidance because, it might be one of those like you reach out, you talk on the phone, and then all of a sudden you're, addressing the elephant in the room, which is this, romantic desire with each other. And so, just let it flow. Yeah, let it flow. Follow the guidance and let it flow. You're getting divine guidance with this crown chakra card out here. So it's coming through for you. Um and I do feel like there's a little bit of doubt when it comes to the guidance that you're receiving right now. And that could be why you're here and listening to this is to help you kind of, get some clarity on some of it. Yep, confirmation. So, yeah, ultimately it is beautiful. We've got fates on the bottom of the card or the bottom of the deck. Blech. So it is a fated connection. You did choose this at a soul level. Yeah, in divine feminine. So yeah, it's a fated connection. It really really is, and you have a deep knowing about it, and there is the possibility for romance with this door to romance. And the building blocks card, this is talking about those complementary aspects of you each having like the other person's missing pieces. And so it's not saying you can't do things without your person. It's not saying your person can't do things without you. It's just saying that you two coming together have the perfect building blocks to build something magnificent that you might not be able to fully build with another person. And it's not saying you couldn't do certain things, you couldn't live life purpose, you couldn't do those things. It's just there's certain things that you and your person are capable of doing together that you might not be capable of fully doing in that way in a physical separation. Yeah, and with the intuition card here and the unfinished symphony, you are in message in the bottle. Yeah. You're being guided. You're getting the intuitive guidance at this time to finish what you started and to communicate with your person. And this is also confirmation to let you know that you have been telepathically communicating with them, and you do have the ability now to lock this in, to bring this into the physical realm. And so it's one of those, allow yourself to take those next steps on this journey. Allow yourself to take these steps and to, maybe even reach out platonically. And that might be a way where it relieves some of that pressure. So you're not like, you know, worried about how to approach somebody you haven't spoken to in a long time with this big grand gesture of romance, and you don't even know if they would be open to receiving that. And so that might be a way to pull some of that pressure off of yourself so that you can kind of ease into it, feel into it, see if they are open to it, and then go from there. So, yeah. Ultimately, beautiful message. You're on the brink of greatness. Keep going. You got this. Sending you so much love on this journey. You got this. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to go ahead and leave this here. I hope this helps. I hope this resonates. If so, you can let me know in the comments below. I would love to talk to you about it. Feel free to hit that like button. It does help out the channel, so thank you. And if you would like to see more from me, you can hit subscribe. It is free. I will see you on the next message. Bye.